talking about fats, talking about saturated fats and unsaturated fats, I want to talk about a fat called lecithin. Anybody heard of it before besides Mallory? It's the fat that's going to be in an egg yolk. Lecithin is a phospholipid. Now we're going to get into the food science of it a little bit, just because I want to expose you to the vocabulary of it, but also because it can tell us about what actually functional holistic nutrition is. Anyone want to take a stab at what functional holistic nutrition is? It's kind of a tough one. It's a mouthful to define. It's just assembling. Ooh, I heard somebody want to take a shot. It's no wrong answers.
Something that works good for your body.
I like it. Something that works well with your body. How about, food behaving with the semblance of symbiosis and being complementary and actually being functional. I don't know if we should actually use one of the words within it if we're trying to describe it, but we're going to talk about it. Phospholipid, that's a great word right there, right? Anybody anybody know what a phospholipid is, besides Mallory? It's a protein-wrapped fat package. It's a vital component of cell membranes, these phospholipids, and it acts as an emulsifier. Anybody name an emulsion? Food emulsion? Mayonnaise is one. Hollandaise, that's one. An emulsion is a permanent mixture of two or more unmixable substances. So something that's oil-based and something that's aqueous, like that vinaigrette that we have. Where you shake it up, it becomes suspended, it's kind of shiny. You got those little balls of fat suspended within that aqueous solution. An emulsifier, when you put a phospholipid in there, then it makes that permanent. I'll explain the structure to you here in a little bit. Part of a protein, amino acids. There's an example of a peptide or a polypeptide, 3 amino acids connected by 2 peptide bonds. Proteins often contain 35 to several hundred or more amino acids, and they sort themselves, they assemble themselves, depending on what kind of material they're going to assemble themselves as. So it's not even as simple as saying, is it going to be hair? Is it going to be toenails? If it is hair, what kind of hair is it? Is it eyelashes? Is it the hair on your head? All of those things have different amounts and chains of amino acids and peptide bonds. Okay, so what is an emulsion? It's a permanent suspension of 2 or more unmixable liquids, like oil and vinegar, like fat and protein in the case of like a sausage, like a really fine emulsified sausage, like a Frankfurt, a hot dog. I'm sure everybody's had a hot dog before. Nobody will probably admit it in here, but they probably all have. How does it work? An emulsifier such as lecithin in egg yolk acts as a barrier between droplets of fat suspended in liquid. The barrier keeps the fat in that liquid from getting back together. Right? So we shake up that vinaigrette and we get those little pockets of fat that are suspended within that aqueous solution. We look at it, it kind of looks a little bit on the shiny side, right? Because it's refracting light in all sorts of different areas. When that light is shining through a liquid that is homogeneous, then it can shine right through. But when it's when that oil is suspended, then the light is going to refract along the phase interface. So between where the water ends and the fat starts, that liquid is going to refract. The emulsifier gets in between those bubbles and acts as a barrier so those things can't get back together. Sorting it so it can't differentiate. This is a process, of course, that's known as differentiation. Here's a little look at it right here. So we've suspended within our aqueous solution, which is free-flowing throughout here, these bubbles of fat. Well, the proteins are long and straight, because they're peptide amino acids that are assembled with those peptide bonds, and they get back together. So when these guys say, hey man, I'm light material, I want to get back together, well, this guy's getting in the way, so they can't really do anything about it. whatsoever. The other part of them is at one end of this strand it's hydrophobic, and at the other end of the strand it's hydrophilic. Pretty cool stuff. So we've got this electrostatic aspect to this too. So there's actually going to be constant motion because that water is flowing into these proteins that are hydrophobic at one end and hydrophilic at the other end. And that water's not going to know necessarily what to do, so it's going to be in a constant state of motion. So when somebody prepares a Caesar salad for you tableside at a nicer restaurant, and it looks like, oh, that dressing is just sitting there, it's actually not just sitting there. It's actually in a constant state of motion. Why do we care, buddy? Why do we care about this at all? It's boring the heck out of me, and if you say the word homogeneous one more time, I'm going to punch you in the throat. I'll tell you why. Because emulsification is also functional holistic nutrition. So this is my little beaker right here. I'm going to draw you some bubbles of fat that are suspended in an aqueous solution. So we started off with a little bit of lemon juice or a little bit of vinegar. Say we're making a balsamic vinegar. So we started with a little bit of balsamic vinegar in the bottom, and we suspended our fat in there. Good rule of thumb, although all vinegars are different, people want to live by these hard rules. For a vinaigrette, 3 parts oil to 1 part vinegar. Now there's some holes in that, so I don't want you to just jot it down and say that this is what it is, because if you put 2 acids together like lemon juice in the mayo dressing that I'm going to be doing for you today, and balsamic vinegar, the balsamic vinegar is going to have a lot less of an acidic profile, right? Also, what are you dressing with this stuff? You spoon it into your mouth? You could. That'd be a little bit weird, but you're dressing a salad with it amongst you. It could be a sauce for your fish, right? Salad greens, are they all created equally? Yeah. We got some really good greens in there. I even got some purslane in there for you. And they're organic. A lot of these organic greens are going to be a lot more bitter. In the conventional greens that they grow, they say, oh, we don't want the bitter flavor, so we're going to just breed it out so they taste nice and sweet for everybody, so everybody's excited about it, and maybe they'll eat